Okay, so now we're going to take a look at some of the research on system justification theory. And Jost and his colleagues are going to examine some of the ways in which people might come to see the system as legitimate. And one thing they've done research on is what they call complementary stereotypes. Now, these are stereotypes that have one good and one bad dimension. An example would be if one thinks that women are incompetent, that would be the bad dimension, but also warm, friendly, caring, nurturing, honest, morally superior. That would be the good dimension, right? So notice then, if you believe all of those things, it's a complementary stereotype because there is a virtue in all these others here, friendly, caring, nurturing, honest, but then the vice, the bad part, right, incompetence. And they have actually found that this stereotype is especially common in societies with extreme gender inequalities, but also present in other societies as well. Now, what are some ways in which these complementary stereotypes support the social system? Well, here are two that Jost hypothesized, and then we'll look at the system justification view as the third one. First of all, these complementary stereotypes, they might encourage people to treat others as well suited to roles prescribed for them by society. And they have found evidence that people spontaneously stereotype groups in ways that justify their role. Right, so if we think of women as friendly and caring and nurturing, well, then that justifies their role as mothers and homemakers and organizing the family and keeping the family going, etc. So that would be one function of a complementary stereotype, that it justifies their role. Of course, the incompetence here would also justify their role as mothers and homemakers. In other words, that they're less competent or not as competent to enter the world of business or politics, etc., right? So again, the complementary stereotype can justify different roles in society. A second possibility is that ascribing these communal stereotypes, they call them the warm, nurturing types of characteristics, that ascribing positive communal stereotypes sugarcoats low status in other social domains, for example, economic power, so that flattered women may actively cooperate with the patriarchal system, right? Because they're being flattered by the positive dimension of the stereotype, even if they're disadvantaged in society. Now, what would that look like? Well, let's take a look at a cartoon here. Here's the male in a higher position than the female, indicating that the women are in a subordinate status in terms of economic power or political power, males in the dominant role in society. And the idea then would be that the complementary stereotype, having two dimensions to it, serves an overall function to justify the status quo. For example, the incompetence part of the complementary stereotype justifies the dominant position of males in the realm of economic and political power. But notice the warm dimension, that positive dimension of the stereotype, what that serves to do is to signal that the males are not hostile to females, they're not hostile to women. And what that can do for women then is to get greater acceptance of their subordinate status in the other domain of power, economic and political, right? So Jost argues that these complementary stereotypes then, overall, they are justifying the roles, the gender roles, and the power status positions in society, so justifying the status quo. The way to keep women happy, as it were, to sugarcoat their inferior status in terms of economic and political power, is to throw them a bone, right? The positive dimensions of the stereotype, by saying, oh, well, look, women have all these wonderful virtues that make them well suited to certain roles in society, like mothers and homemakers. But of course, then males will retain the positions of power in the economy and in the politics. Now, Jost adds to this a third argument for the role of these complementary stereotypes, and I'll just read it. Complementary stereotypes may justify the current system of gender relations, including the division of labor in society and in the family, and the status quo in general, by reinforcing the notion that each gender group possesses its own set of strengths and weaknesses that supplement and balance out the strengths and weaknesses of the other group. More generally, assigning compensating virtues to the disadvantaged and corresponding vices to the advantaged groups in society creates the illusion of equality. Nobody has it all. And if we think back to our cartoon here, so women here, on the one hand, they are ascribed incompetence by the stereotype, but they get a positive one. They're warm, right? So yes, they have a negative dimension to the stereotype, but they also have a positive one. Likewise, then, if we flip that, the males have, the stereotype of competence, but maybe coldness, right? A negative. And so the idea is because each group has some positive, virtues and negative vices, nobody has it all. And that promotes this view that sort of society is kind of fair, this illusion of equality. Nobody has it all. Of course, that illusion of equality, right, will be in the advantage of the people who are actually in a superior or dominant position in society.